And he's having another great weekend. 10-2 here in Modern with this deck. And if you've seen his Modern win percentage over the past year or so, Modern is definitely his format. He does a great job here. He's playing against Jonathon Jackman, who is playing Abzan. And Jonathon bringing a little bit more of a fair deck to the table. I'm curious how things will line up here.
Yeah, the Abzan deck is quote-unquote very fair.
Yes.
But all the cards are very good. Discard the best creatures, some Lilianas, removal.
All the cards are good.
Oh, yeah.
They're definitely powerful. See Jonathon going to search up an Overgrown Tomb here with this Verdant Catacombs. Jeff started things off with a Razor Verge thickened to a Birds of Paradise. And then we're going to head back Jackman's way. It is curious to see if Jonathon knows what Jeff is up to. You know that Jeff is definitely not playing a stock deck. It's not something he ever does. He's known to play blue-red fairies at times. Here's a Thoughtseize, so we'll see exactly what he's working with in the grip. There's a Court of Calling, a Voice of Resurgence, a Pia and Kiran Dalar, along with an Overgrown Tomb and a Wooded Foothills.
Looking at a hand like that, you know, just initially I would have no idea what to take.
There's a little bit of this.
Yes, a bit of everything in this hand.
A little bit of that. Choose wisely.
Yeah.
Looks like Pia and Kiran are going to bite the dust. Jonathon feeling as though he can beat Voice of Resurgence and Court of Calling, as Jeff will take a draw step, picked up a copy of Path Exile. There's Voice of Resurgence. Here is an Overgrown Tomb. Pass the turn back over to Jackman. Jackman will sacrifice that Marsh Flats. He'll get himself a Goblet Shrine. As far as this Abzan build is concerned, nothing too crazy going on here out of the ordinary, right?
No, he has the Lilianas backed up with the Thoughtseizes and Inquisitions of Kozilek, the Lingering Souls kind of combo with Liliana, the best creatures, Siege Rhino, Kitchen Finks, Scavenging Ooze, Tarmogoyf, and then removal in there, Abrupt Decays, Path Exiles, a Dismember, a Maelstrom Pulse.
Maelstrom Pulse in the grip right now, as is Abrupt Decay. Temple Garden is the land here for Jackman. And it looks like he's going to play a Path Exile in this Voice of Resurgence. Going to do that on his turn, of course, because does not want to give Jeff an Elemental token. So a basic mountain there for Jeff. And he will untap with a little bit more mana as he heads to his third turn. Again, we know Hoogland has a Court of Calling and a Path Exile in his hand. He'll draw a card for the turn. Picked up a Windswept Heath. There's a Wooded Foothills. Simply pass the turn back. Jackman will draw. Dismember. A lot of removal over there for Jonathon. Verdant Catacombs is the land. No creature to play to get the party started. Jeff will sacrifice this Wooded Foothills. Search up a land out of his deck.
Yeah, Jackman really wants a threat here to back up all of this removal and the little bit of discard that he's had.
He hasn't found one just yet. For Jeff, a lot of big draws available. Again, we already know about the Cord that's in his hand, but he's got cards like Eternal Witness in his deck, Courser of Crufix, another copy of Pia and Kiran Nalar, Restoration Angel he has 3 copies of, 1 Kiki Jiki to combo off with. There's a Scavenging Ooze, which is certainly fine at this stage.
Oh, yeah.
It is something that's just going to die thanks to Abrupt Decay, but there are worse draws. And it looks like Jeff is going to eat some cards in Jackman's graveyard. And Jackman will sacrifice his Verdant Catacombs now.
And Jeff eats those cards because of Tarmogoyf and Tasigur.
Yep. Jackman going to go with a basic swamp, maybe.
The pump fake?
Yes.
Let the defender go flying by.
Overgrown Tomb instead. So now for Jackman, looking for a Dark Confidant, Lingering Souls. I guess no Dark Confidants in the deck this weekend, but Tarmogoyf, Scavenging Ooze, Siege Rhino, just something. Got the game well in hand.
Yeah, a lot of those guys are just big threats that would start putting a fast clock on his opponent.
Verdant Catacombs.
Oop.
And just a pass. So, Jeff, number 3 on our Season 1 leaderboard. I'm going to search up a Stomping Ground.
And he's getting close to being able to cord for almost anything in his deck.
Razorverge thinking, yeah, he's almost there. And he's been very patient with the Court of Calling. We might see something like Court of Calling for Eternal Witness, get back Court of Calling. That's all on the table now. There's a basic forest.
How many witnesses are we looking at over there?
He's working with 2 this weekend.
Okay.
4 chords in the deck. As Jackman will draw, picked up a swamp. A little smile creeping across Jonathan's face as he is not able to find anything that matters. Here is chord. That'll resolve. It'll be for 3. And there is Eternal Witness.
It's like you've done this before.
I have. I was a Kiki Pod player a little bit back when Birthing Pod was legal. There's an attack for 2.
And with the next chord, he can get the Resto Angel, blink out the Witness, get the chord back again.
Yeah, it depends as they're scavenging. Now this is going to muck things up a little bit. He could go courting in response. If I'm Jeff, I might have some interest in just courting for Witness again and get back chord. But now, as there's Path to Exile, okay, so the problem is solved.
Yep.
The only thing that's obviously a little bit of a concern, like the chord for Resto, blink, Witness, get back chord play, is completely reasonable. But you have to imagine that your opponent probably has a removal spell.
Sure. Yeah, you don't want to just let him break it up.
Yeah, he's not, because Jackman's just not doing anything. Of course, we get to see his hand, so we know he's got Dismember and Abrupt Decay.
Sure. And Jeff choosing to be very patient here.
Which I think is wise, because Jackman's not doing anything.
Yep.
So if we keep playing the game just like this, Jeff will win. Jackman will draw a card. Windswept Teeth. He also has a Maelstrom Pulse over there. I'm just going to pass. Hoogland will draw. There's a Plains. Here's an attack for 2. Thoughtseize the draw here from Jackman. That's a good way to get it started.
Yeah, that'll force some action if he chooses to Thoughtseize.
See if he does want to fire off the discard spell. He's going to start by playing a Windswept Teeth. And no discard spell. So, back over to Jeff.
Well, he's concerned about his life total for sure.
Sure. He's going to fall down to 8 now. Basic Forest, pass the turn back. Path to Exile the draw here for Jackman. Jeff flooding out pretty badly here, but still does have a Court of Calling in hand. Which means a lot of different things could happen. And even though it's simplistic, I do like that Jeff is not making a move with the Court.
Yep. And we see Jackman also being very patient.
Yep.
He's got a lot of removal in his hand. He feels like he doesn't have to play it right now.
Ghost Quarter was revealed from Courser of Crewfix. That'll enter the battlefield, trigger the Courser. Hoogland will gain a life. Jackman will draw. Picked up a copy of Lingering Souls. Well, he's got to cast something soon.
Yep. That Lingering Soul should really help. Jeff excited.
Yeah, he's cold.
He's been waiting for a while. You know?
Just saying, you have to do something. That's for sure. There's Lingering Souls.
4 tokens coming.
Yep. There are the spirits.
Do you remember that card?
Lingering Souls?
In Standard.
It was not as dominant in Standard as I thought it was going to be. It was good, of course.
Was it in block where they had to ban?
It was banned. Yeah, it was banned in block. Would have been way too good. But that one was a doozy. As here's Court of Calling. Curious to see what Jeff is going to search for here. Wonder if he's got a little spicer like Orzhov Pontiff. Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
The Haunt mechanic.
Very intuitive.
one of Magic's finest mechanics.
When the creature comes into play, it does something. And then when the creature leaves play, it doesn't do anything.
That's correct.
But there's a different creature that when it leaves play, it will do something.
It will do something, yes.
And somehow you're supposed to keep track of this.
Well, Orzhov Pontiff did come in. And once it did enter the battlefield, -1/-1 to all of Jonathan's creatures, so the spirit tokens are gone. Attack with the Courser and Eternal Witness. Abrupt Decay is going to take care of the Courser. The Witness is going to come across here for 2. Jackman's going to go down to 6. Excuse me, down to 4. And now he'll untap. Marsh flats the draw.
And Jackman just really getting zero help from his deck here.
Yeah, it's not cooperating at all.
You see all those lands in front of him. Nothing to do.
Maelstrom Pulse finally going to be cast. Going to go after Eternal Witness. That's going to resolve. Perhaps we'll see him take care of the Pontiff as well. No shortage of removal, that's for sure. Plus, I want to see the Pontiff haunt something.
Oh, sure.
An attack with a little bit of flourish there.
Get him for 1?
Oh, yeah.
His job's not done yet.
A lot of work left to go for the Pontiff.
Oh, yeah. 4 for 1 the opponent, and get in there.
Jackman will draw. That Thoughtseize is basically a dead card.
And we see on Jeff's side a Resto Angel in his hand. He knows he can be so patient. Force Jackman to do something.
Here's an Inquisition. There's a Court of Calling. This will be for 4. No counter spells here from Jackman, so that's going to resolve. Jeff going to very quickly search here. I think it's going to be Pierre Kieran. Yep. That'll bring a couple Thopters along with it. Path to Exile is going to bite the dust. Restoration Angel is left over.
And I think the writing's on the wall at this point.
Yeah. You can see Jackman's hand, that useless Thoughtseize, a Dismember which can't take care of everything. And I think just a land over there, maybe a Path to Exile, no matter what it is. It's not going to save him here. So I think he might look over his hand a couple of times here to see if there's any way out of this situation, but it does not appear that that is the case. There's Dismember. Jeff will sacrifice this Windswept Heath. Get a basic forest. Yeah, and Jackman knows that he is beat at this stage. So, Jeff Hoogland's going to win game number 1 here over Jonathan Jackman. Kiki Cord is up a game here over Abzan. We'll take a look at the sideboards here, and we will start with Jonathan Jackman, who's got 3 Fulminator Mages and Languish, a Damnation, Engineer Explosives, 2 Stony Silence, 2 Painful Truths, and a bunch of 1-ofs here in Thragtusk, Kitchen Finks, Celestial Purge, Feed the Clan, and Maelstrom Pulse.
Okay.
What do you like from the Abzan Mage?
I like the Wrath of God effects. The Languish and the Damnation will really help him control the board. And a lot of his big creatures will live through a Languish. Well, not many of Jeff's will.
This is true. I guess I'm curious to see how much Jeff kind of clutters up his board, which I think he can do a lot of at times. So maybe we do see the Languish and the Damnation come in. Engineered Explosives, there's probably a lot of varying casting costs. It's probably a little too hard to do.
It's clunky at times.
Yeah. The other side of things here for Jeff, an Engineered Explosives, 3 Lightning Healers, strange inclusion. 2 Slaughter Games, 3 Stony Silence, a Spellskite, a Reclamation Sage, a Fulminary Mage, an Eidolon of Rhetoric, an Obstinate Baloth, and Linvala, Keeper of Silence.
All right, so we'll probably see the Obstinate Baloth come in. It's good against all the discard spells. It's especially good against Liliana.
Very true.
But Jeff's deck seems reasonably well positioned to fight against Jonathan's deck.
I think the matchup is tough for Jonathan.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to draw a ton of removal like we just saw in the last game, but is his clock fast enough in combination with the disruption? Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't think that game that we watched is a real indicator of how things go. But I think his deck is going to have to put together a much better draw than that to be able to win.
Certainly.
That's for sure. Because Jeff's deck didn't even really do very much that game, and he won that game very easily.
Yeah.
So that'll give you an idea what both players are working with here as we talk about the StarCityGames.com newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news where you can get the latest on the SCG Tour. Watch the SCG Tour match of the week, receive exclusive deck lists and advice from some of our Star City Games columnists, catch up on all of the event results on the SCG Tour, as well as reading an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, it's free to sign up for. Go.starcitygames.com/newsletter for more information. As we do get ready here for game number 2 between Jeff Hoogland and Jonathan Jackman, we'll learn a little bit more about number 3 on our Season 1 leaderboard. Jeff Hoogland, 24 years old, from Bloomington, Illinois. 1 invitational top 8 in Season 3 of 2014. 10 Open Series top 8s. Still missing that victory, but could be this weekend as he's off to a great start. Has a master's degree in mathematics, manages several open source coding projects, and he loves to brew.
Nice.
He loves to brew. So, are you a brewer as far as deck building is concerned, or are you someone who takes a well-known deck and tries to fix it up a little bit?
Because of results, I've been forced to not be a brewer.
Explain.
So I always had ideas that I wanted to explore and work on and things like that.
Okay.
I never had a lot of success with it.
Ah, okay.
So,
Okay.
you know, you figure out who you are in life sometimes.
I wanted to be a brewer for a little while, but
That's just it. I had to say to myself, hey, Craig, like, we can either be a brewer or we can actually do well at Magic.
Sure. Well, you can do both. Well, I guess you can't.
Apparently, I could not do both.
You cannot do both. What is your most successful brew? Do you have one?
Oh, when I was a very casual player, I tried to make poison decks back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Swamp Mosquito?
Swamp Mosquito and his friends.
I don't think Swamp Mosquito had very many friends.
There were not a lot.
I was going to say there weren't a lot of cards that gave infect back then. I actually can't think of any other
Well,
ones.
it was poison, not infect, but yeah.
Excuse me.
There was Viper.
It was like a snake. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Naf's Asp or no? This is your deck.
Yeah, this is a long time ago.
Yeah,
like I
true.
said, in order to protect myself, my brain has purged all of my brewing failures out.
Brewing it's sad when it doesn't work out. Because you really want, a lot of times you have an idea that you feel strongly about and you just can't get it to work.
Sure, but I mean, it's great. Like
It's
I said,
so fun.
When I was more casual, I loved it.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I used to ride my bicycle to the local gaming store for the Thursday night tournament.
Okay.
And just usually had my brew with me.
That's a thing of beauty right there. Jeff, very successful with his brews. Right now, 10-2 with Kiki Court, a deck that basically no one else is playing. And I can appreciate that Jeff is someone who I would truly be shocked if I ever covered a tournament of his or he showed up to a tournament and he's just playing Jund.
Or Twin.
Yeah, I just can't imagine it happening.
Sure. No, he seems very dialed in to what Modern is doing.
That I agree with.
And tries to attack it from his own angle.
Yeah, and his results speak for themselves. He's been very, very good. His win percentage in Modern over the past year has been very, very high. And he's doing very, very well with his Kiki Court deck. As here's an Inquisition of Kozilek from Jackman. He'll search up a land here. You see the hand from Jeff. It's a Courser, a Cord, an Engineer Explosive, Scavenging Ooze, and a couple of lands here in Plains, Razor Verge Thicket, and Firelit Thicket. So many thickets in his hand.
It's thick with them. No, nothing?
I just shrug that right off like it's nothing. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't even say anything.
That was some low-hanging fruit.
We'll see what card Jackman wants to select. My favorite thing is no selling a joke.
Sure.
Just you come with some medium-level pun. I won't even...
Oh, that's generous if you call that one medium. I appreciate that.
I won't even address it. It's like it never happened.
I'm digging my own hole, and I got to get myself out of it.
That's right.
Well, thanks for backing me up there.
Hey, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. You see, again for Jonathan, his hand is all removal. There's a path.
I believe he took a mulligan to start the game.
He did.
And it's funny when, in formats with the fetch lands, when the players scry one, and the decision is irrelevant because you're just going to play a fetch land and crack it.
Yeah, and then play your spell.
Yeah.
Ghost Quarters the land, pass the turn back. Dismember was the draw. This is another game where his hand is all removal and no threat. He needs to find a threat as there's a Marsh Flats.
Yeah, the longer this goes, the more Jeff's going to be able to do whatever he wants.
It's just going to play out like the first game.
Yep, generate a lot of card advantage through Eternal Witnesses and Restoration Angels.
I was a little surprised that Jackman selected the Scavenging Ooze as opposed to the Court of Calling, because we saw what Court of Calling was capable of in the last game. Just going to find Eternal Witness, get it back, maybe play that type of game again. Jeff will draw a card here. Spellskite. There's Firelit Thicket there, Spellskite. Pass the turn back. Looking to set up Courser next turn. This is the first card that's going to be taken care of with all that removal.
Yeah, that Spellskite's going to soak up a removal spell here.
See what land he wants to get. Kind of going with Godless Shrine. Perhaps Jackman will play a removal spell and end the turn, as he does have a Dismember. It'll be a little costly on life, but we'll see what route he wants to take with these removal spells.
Do you have a memorable brew?
Best I... Yeah, I'd say the best brew I ever played. Actually, okay, there are two. One, I built like a Aether Vial Chittering Rats deck for a little while. There was like a bunch of rats. I was basically abusing like the enters the battlefield trigger from Chittering Rats in your draw step with Aether Vial and with ink eyes and stuff like that. That was Chittering Rats is from Mirrodin block, but it was Mirrodin Kamigawa.
There he is.
Yeah. And then that deck ended up doing really well at Canadian Nationals one year. And then I built a Bant Birthing Pod deck when I first started streaming.
Okay.
And I worked on it for like 2 days on stream. And I ended up winning a PTQ with it that Saturday.
Sure. So
it was like me and all the people who were watching me stream, we kind of worked on the deck together. I built the deck. It's funny because I built the deck because I thought that Venser, Sojourner, and Stonehorn Dignitary was a really good combo in the format at the time. Just being able to fog loop them.
Okay.
And I ended up cutting it from the deck.
Okay.
And then, my deck is actually functional.
That's the way it goes in brewing sometimes. You start one place, and when you work for a while, you end up someplace completely different.
Yeah, that was like the whole reason I built the deck was to get that combo going. And then, there's Thragtusk and stuff like that. And then eventually, as we kept playing more games, it's like, this doesn't beat anyone.
Sure.
So I ended up cutting it from the deck and just ended up building a pod deck that could put together some pretty broken loops with Birthing Pod, some broken chains. Engineering Explosive is going to take care of Scavenging Ooze. That's the best brewing I've ever done. I think everyone's dream is to put together, to like make the brew that breaks the Pro Tour or something. I don't think I'm ever going to be that guy.
Yeah, neither am I. Yeah, your brewing seems to be much more recent than mine.
Yeah.
Mine had been well beaten out of me by that point.
Oh, yeah. I always sometimes I get in a mood where I just want to brew.
Well, and also, there was a point where I was playing a good bit of some other card games.
Okay.
There was the Versus card game, the WoW TCG, and there was a lot of room for creativity in those games.
Sure.
And I did a good job of surrounding myself with creative people that came up with some interesting, innovative decks.
I'm just more of I guess they call it tuners. More of a tuner.
Sure. Dial in the last 4 cards for the deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's Path to Exile on this Siege Rhino. Jackman will search up the land.
Yeah, Jackman finally finding a few creatures, and they're just not sticking around for him.
No, they're not. Jeff does have 4 Path to Exiles in his main deck here this weekend, so doesn't look like he sideboarded any of those out as he's sacrificing a Windswept Heath here. These players just been trading resources here, but this is very reminiscent of game number 1, where Jackman just has a lot of removal. We're working ourselves into a longer game, and if something like this happens, this, at least in my opinion, favors Jeff pretty heavily.
Yep.
There's a Plains. And Jeff will just pass the turn back.
He does have a Quarter Calling.
Yep. He's going to play a Birds of Paradise really quick. Quarter Calling and Restoration Angel in hand.
So we'll see if he just wants to make a similar play as last game, where he just loops it, get a threat on the board.
There's Tarmogoyf. Looks like there might be a little bit of a light discrepancy, but checking Tarmogoyf's size, it's a 5/6. There's Court of Calling. This is for a lot. Let's see what he's searching up here.
Looks like 5.
Yeah. Aha. Revelark. That's a fun card for the removal deck to play against.
Oh, yeah.
That was on Jeff's mind right away. He'll draw a card now. Voice of Resurgence the draw. He'll cast that pre-combat.
Perfect.
Yep. Here comes Revelark. Did you play Revelark decks when they were legal?
For a little bit.
Yeah. I was more of a Kithkin by myself, as you know.
I remember your Kithkin times.
Yeah. But I did dabble in elementals a little bit.
I think the Kithkin days were dark days for you.
Well, how could you say that? Those were the only good days of my Magic career. How could you? those were the brightest of days.
To show up with Kithkin,
Careful what you say next.
it seems like you were giving yourself more of a challenge than you needed to.
One could argue.
Was that careful enough?
I'll let it slide.
All right.
Let it slide. It's a very emotional subject for me.
Sure.
We were we were a great team.
You might have a little bit of Kithkin in you.
Yes, we were a great team. We did a lot of work together. But this was one of that time of Magic, Lorwyn, Shadowmoor, all that stuff. One of my favorite times. Played Merfolk some.
Sure.
Lost to fairies a lot.
Oh,
you know. Couldn't possibly ever beat 5-color. Here's an Abrupt Decay to take care of Spellskite because it's got to start there.
Yeah, those were the two big decks at the time, was fairies and the 5-color control deck.
There were 3 decks.
And Kithkin.
There you go. There were 3.
Yeah, the metagame was split about evenly between those 3 decks.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a Maelstrom Pulse. Looking to go after Revelark. Not ideal. Suppose you could argue you need to get Revelark off the battlefield, but again, this is the issue, right?
Yeah, there's no good decisions here.
Yeah, this is the issue. He kills that, Spellskite comes back.
Sure, but if he waits or he kills something else, the Revelark only gets better later.
Exactly. Now Jeff's going to start going after the graveyard a little bit here with Scavenging Ooze, which is going to try to shrink the Tarmogoyf down a little bit as he slides it down to a 4/5. Ooze is going to grow up into a 3/3, gain him a life. He's got Restoration Angel in the air, Spellskite protecting all the stuff. Voice of Resurgence forcing Jackman to cast the spells on his turn. It's just a nightmare here for Jonathon.
Yep. Yeah, you really felt it from every angle.
It's getting a lot easier now, too, with this Eternal Witness. And now here's Revelark. So, overall, it's just looking to be a pretty close game. Tarmogoyf down to a 3/4.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even smaller.
Yeah. It's a pretty dominant one. Here comes Ooze and Restoration Angel. Pass the turn back. Jackman will draw a card. And I think Jeff feeling rather confident with his board position. As there's a Lingering Souls.
Yeah, that's not going to do it.
No, not quite. 4 spirits on the way. Now we'll go back Jeff's way. See if he can work his way through these spirits in a timely manner. If he finds Court of Calling, as there's another Eternal Witness, he can get back Court of Calling. Cast Court of Calling.
The world is his oyster.
And do literally whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Get Kiki Jiki.
Sure.
Target Restoration Angel. Go infinite. And that is going to do it.
Loop him up.
Jeff Hoogland's going to win this match over Jonathon Jackman. 2-0. Kiki Court is going to absolutely annihilate Abzan. And for Jeff Hoogland, he is going to move on to 11-2. 2 rounds left to go. We might be win-in territory for Jeff next round.